Hello and welcome to Stringer Podcast number 44. This week we've got Jerome Cheng for you. We've been working. I've been working. I want to say I, but it's not true. Dylan's been working. Charlotte's been working, and Jerome's been working. We've all been working to try to find a time that this made sense. We actually had it for you last week. Unfortunately, we've been a little bit busy. We're on another project with Major League Soccer. It's called Kings of CONCACAF, and it's kind of tied up all of our editing time. But we got Jerome for you this week. We have a lot of fun. There's a couple of Easter eggs in there for you. A little bit of Donald Duck, maybe. A little bit of Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just to drop a hint, you can find Jerome on Twitter at Black Dragon Roll or on Instagram at Black Dragon Roll. We go back quite a few years. We work together on Toronto FC. He does some great stuff with NBA TV Canada, and he's just a super, super talented producer. All right, a little bit of a programming note. I know we weren't around last week. We actually won't be around next week either, as we're working through this series and we're trying to line up some really great podcasts for you. But I'm off to Vancouver in like less than 12 hours, and I don't get back till, I don't know, I take some red eye over the weekend, and it's brutal. Just so you know, I just wanted you to know. I didn't want you guys to worry. I am still here, but just no podcast next week. Makes sense? But we do have plans for you this weekend. While I'm on Red Eyes, you can do all this fun stuff. On Friday, March 29th, we get Toronto FC teaming up against New York City FC. Why would I mention this? I hate people who ask themselves questions. It's because Alejandro Pozuelo, the brand new big star player, his debut is Friday night. Pretty exciting, right? I had the chance to sit down with him. I didn't actually sit down with him. I was just on set with him as he sat down with TSN's Christian Jack, also the host of a football podcast. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can check it out now at A Football Pod on Twitter and Instagram and afootballpodcast.com. And you can obviously find the pod anywhere podcasts are found. If you want to get tickets for Toronto FC versus New York City FC, all you have to do is go to seatgiant.ca and use promo code STRINGER. Why? Because I still ask myself questions that I'm about to answer, because you're going to be able to save a couple dollars off your ticket purchase if you just go to seatgiant.ca and use promo code STRINGER. Saturday, March 30th, it's Earth Day, fools. That means show some respect, shut off the lights, maybe not watch TV for an hour. I think Earth Hour is going to be at 4:30, I think it looks like. I'm looking at my phone, 4:30 EDT. Is that Eastern Daylight Savings Time, Dill? He's nodding his head.
Yeah.
It's an audio medium, but it's cool. Yeah. It's late at night. Poor Dylan wants to go home. 4:30 is when we're honoring Earth Hour, so make sure you shut off your lights, light some candles, read a book. You don't even need candles. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Like, it's freaking great right now. And then Sunday, March 31st, we had the Toronto Downtown Record Show. Nothing like a little bit of vinyl. I have a sweet little collection going. It reminds me of being a kid. My parents had a great vinyl collection. I'm not going to be able to make it back into Toronto in time, but you should certainly check it out. The Toronto Downtown Record Show is back. We're at it again with almost 100,000 records on sale. Over 40 tables of records, all from different vendors selling the best vinyl records you need. Dale, if you had to buy one vinyl record, one artist, who do you think who would it be?
The Beatles.
The Beatles? I think I'd go Elton John. Oddly, I want a little bit, Elton John vinyl in my life. My parents had his whole collection, and I just remember it being played over and over in my house. Okay, that's your weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all lined up. If you don't like what we had to suggest, I completely understand. Not everything is for everyone, but you can do one of two things about it. You can either hit us up with your ideas, and we'll be happy to promote them at Stringer Podcast on Twitter, or events at stringerpodcast.ca, or you can just go to Seat Giant and find something for yourself this weekend. They got tons of different events, from concert, sporting events, theater, live shows, comedy, all sorts of stuff, and you can save money off all of your tickets. Whether you buy 1 or 100, you can save money off all of your tickets by using promo code STRINGER. Black Dragon Roll. Jerome Cheng coming up. I don't know why I wanted to address him by his Twitter handle, but it's just the cool thing to do. All sorts of awesomeness, including, a little bit of bracket challenging, because it's that time of the year. So find out our very special nerdy bracket and how we all fared. Dylan, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Can you just cue the sax?
Yeah.
I was supposed to go. Well, I had tickets and
I was shooting for Rundown, so I barely even paid attention to the game itself. It's a lot of Like, okay, cat's ready. Let's go do this hit.
Let's go do the hit.
Yeah.
In between your other hits.
Yeah, exactly.
No one cares about the Knicks.
And that's
No one does care about the Knicks. It's true. Is it? I know.
right? Yeah.
That's why I didn't go. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, the Knicks are here. What a brat I am.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, the Knicks are here. I'm like, I don't really want to see. When I first got my tickets, I was like, you have all your basics, right? All your classics that you got to see.
Mhm.
Now I'm like, Knicks.
I was reading before it. I thought it was both Kawhi and Kyle that weren't going to play. So I was just kind of like, ooh, who's going to have like the big night against the Knicks?
Yeah.
Because it's just the Knicks want Zion. We want wins. I was just like, this is
There's a very straight understanding here.
yeah. I wanted the
door.
Pascal 50-point game, but we didn't get that.
Imagine Pascal.
Yeah,
like
just-
it goes right up there with Terrence Ross.
Oh, the Terrence
Yeah,
Ross
the Terrence
against
Ross,
Clippers?
the 51 or whatever 52 he
yeah,
scored.
yeah.
Are the Knicks dead last?
They're down there. I don't know like their specific ranking, but I mean, I talked to any of my Nick friends like through Twitter, and they're
My
all just
Nick
like
friends.
yeah, fans of the Knicks. Like, friends.
They're
that are
my
fans.
Nick friends.
Yeah, yeah. And
My Knickerbocker pals, which sounds even better.
yes, I like that.
The friends of the Knickerbockers.
Hey James, what's the outlook next season?
By the way, don't sell the team.
Right. Yeah, I think it's like they want Zion.
Yeah.
They want that pick, and they're probably getting KD and Kyrie. So
Because that's the modern day NBA.
We're talking about Durant and how he doesn't want to go to a team like New York. Like he just can't handle that type of media scrutiny and pressure.
I think almost every media member is basically like, you don't want this.
Yeah.
Because especially the way he's handling everything in Golden State right now. And Golden State is very tame by way of like media scrutiny or any of that.
Knicks are clearly last.
They're dead last?
Yeah.
How far dead last?
Far enough. They're 14 wins on the year.
Okay.
Next closest is Phoenix with 17.
They've won
Yeah.
14 games.
Yeah.
Phoenix only has 17 wins?
Suns are trash, dude.
Yeah, Suns they're down there.
Weren't they supposed to be good like a couple of years ago?
They had they had one season where I think the intent was blowing it up, and
Okay.
they overperformed, and then now they're performing at the expected level.
They are adequately
Yeah.
performing for what we expect. Jerome Cheng on the podcast.
Hi there.
Hi, pal.
How's it going, man?
We've been trying to set this up for like,
Yeah.
I want to say months,
Yeah.
but this might be the culmination of my whole lifetime
right.
of
This is the
everything
meme
leading to this
of,
moment.
Like the adulting meme of like just consistently making plans and then just passing it over to the next one. Oh, I got like a thing.
I would love to, but I got that dinner came up.
Yep.
So sorry. And also, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Hello.
Hey Kyle, you just jump in on this stuff. Be a part of it. He heard what I had in store for today's podcast.
I have no idea.
And his
I didn't
eyes lit up. And I was like, "Oh, he's excited." And I was like, "Do you want to come in on this, Kyle?"
I can see it in his eyes.
And he was
right
like,
now.
"Yeah, you can. That or exhaustion. Extreme caffeine.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's extreme
All the
caffeine
above.
fed right into his veins." How's your week been? We saw each other just 2 days ago, and that's when
That's
I was.
how this happened.
Yeah, I was like Monday, and you're
Right.
like not. I think I said Monday or Tuesday, and you were like Monday.
I think you threw
I-
Monday out, and I was just like, I
I
can't
got
do
a
my-
game
I got to work the game. And
then
then
you
I texted Tuesday, though.
Tuesday, and I said, "Yep."
Yep. It's
That
happening.
works
And here we are.
so well. So my first question, my first I wish I had notes. I'd be like,
Right.
I'd open them up.
Well, I mean, it's
Russell
not a visual format.
papers.
We can pretend.
We could
Like,
pretend
just
I
like-
have a book in front of me. I
Yeah.
need that sound of like,
Yeah.
I don't know if the mic's going to pick that up. Probably not. Of turning the page and being like, first question, all the podcasting you do, you probably don't get a whole lot of like sit down, like official format
No.
podcasting.
No,
Because
I never
between
do.
MCU and Dings, it's all like
It's over Skype.
over Skype. Everyone calls in.
I only I used to just do it just connecting my headphones into my phone.
I think that was the first one I heard was you were like
Right.
walking somewhere.
Probably.
And
That
you had
sounds
your
about right.
headphones in, and I'm like, oh, he sounds like he's near Union Station, but on the outside.
Right. And then I finally decided to purchase a mic that I like plug in now.
Oh, that's
my
clever.
blue Yeti. I think is that the brand? Do you have one in here?
Oh, we did.
It's somewhere.
Did it go, Dylan?
I took it back.
The Yeti's back.
Oh, Sportsfeld guys.
There you go.
Wait, it was like a trophy that sat in here. Were you in? Was that when we first met? Were you interning?
I
guess.
was at the tail end of interning. I remember specifically the day that I like officially met you because I've heard about it.
Was it a good day or was it a bad day?
It was a good day.
Okay, good. Because
So-
whenever someone says, I remember specifically when I met you,
Yeah.
I get really scared about what's
Right.
going to come
Yeah,
next.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, I didn't mean to yell at you. I was probably really stressed. Had like 74 things on my plate.
That's right. Yeah. It was because Toronto FC had just renovated their locker room and we were doing the reveal.
Right.
And I had to put in the GoPros.
And you
were-
ran 3 GoPros.
We ran 3 GoPros and you introduced me to Sasha. You introduced me to the team over there because I hadn't really met that side of it. And you helped me get things set up.
Can I tell actually from my side of it? I wasn't nice that day. And I should have been nice.
Okay.
You didn't deserve. And actually, I've thought about this before.
Okay.
Because I was really annoyed. This has nothing. I knew if you go back even further, I think I put forward a candidate to be an intern. And the person I worked with at the time turned them down. And I was mad. I was like, come on. I've been in this department for ages. Let me have like my intern vote go in.
Right.
And they said no. And then they brought in this other guy. We're going to name him Jay Cheng. No, that's much too revealing. Let's call him Jerome C.
Oh.
So that was before you. That was like 2 months before
my eyes
you.
are wide open and trying to decipher this code.
Who might this person be?
Who would that be?
But then what was really stressing me out was they were doing the locker room reveal.
That's right.
At BMO Field, and I had to be 2 places at once.
I do remember that.
And the
'cause you-
solution was give me an intern. And so this is nothing against you, but when like I have a program, a series that I'm working on, and the solution from my bosses and producers is here's an intern to shoot the other part of it.
Right.
That just stresses me out.
Right.
Right? That was it. And
Well,
so I
it was
remember
also,
I could have been
think
nicer
it was
to
the
you.
elements of it wasn't just that like it was an intern, but it was just like this is a guy that I'm going to have to catch up very, very quickly as to the ins and outs of how to go about this.
And I think I had
it was my first
like
time there.
45 minutes.
That's right.
I think I
Something like
ran
that,
to the
yeah.
stadium, dropped off all the GoPros onto your lap.
Yep.
And was like, zip, zip, zoom, zoom. And I had to be at the training ground like seconds later.
And you know nothing at all about him?
I didn't
No,
know.
it was the first time we
Didn't even know
met.
if he could work a GoPro.
I hoped he could.
Yeah.
It's one button.
I hoped I could in
Yeah.
the moment. Yeah, I remember.
And that was the first day. Okay, I'm
was it.
sorry. I wish I was nicer. You could have gotten a better side of me.
Yeah.
I hope you've gotten it. Yeah, he
met
says,
him,
yeah.
yeah.
Now he
Right,
agrees
okay,
that he didn't
okay.
get the best side of me.
No, well, just relatively in in seeing the person I see across right now, like easily the better side.
You
I
got
have a
all
great side
business,
right now.
Clay, at the time. I was
Yeah.
so stressed that
Yeah,
day.
Right.
I was like, but it turned out great.
Yeah.
The funny thing about GoPros, everyone can probably figure this, but they don't realize, like, I don't think they know that when you work behind the scenes and you work on some of these shows, they figure you get these cool moments in their homes, which you do on the bus, which you do at training, which you do in the locker room, which you do. I don't think they appreciate the amount of bums that get caught on camera.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the amount of dick that just swings freely. And it's something like, if you're handling a camera, you can turn away or turn it off.
Right.
When you just have stationary GoPros.
Well, I remember our system, what we had that day. It was basically because we can only set it up before everyone got in, because
Yes.
obviously we can't be setting it up while they're coming in.
No.
And we can only go back after to pick it up after everyone has changed and gotten
And headed
ready.
out to the field.
Exactly. So I think it was we had them covered up for a period, or we knew that the second that they were we had him playing for all the entrances, but the second that we knew that they were going to start changing, we had put it on. I think it was Sash probably at the
You
time.
probably, yeah.
To throw the towels on or
Yeah.
turn the cameras around.
Right. And they did at some point, I think, throw towels on.
They did.
But it's just one of those things where you're
Yeah.
sifting through, footage. And what happens
Oh,
is
yeah.
the first 3 guys get in and they're before everyone else. And they're 100%. I think they show up just so they don't have to get naked in front of other dudes.
Right.
Like, that's what I'd do.
Right.
I gotta get a party at the border.
I'm sorry.
This is where we speak mostly truth, but only mostly.
Yeah. Yeah, I had my like carefully crafted version of the story already set, but it's all good.
We know what we need. We need like that bossa nova.
Yeah. Oh,
you
my
know
God.
when they just roll it in, and so
the
go
Count
for
the
it.
Dings, the podcast that I get involved with here and there.
He's lying. He's like a star of the show.
I'm not.
You
I'm
completely
really,
are. You're on the website.
What is it?
See, it's amazing.
It's formerly True Hoop with ESPN, then turned into their own private venture that was Count the Dings, and now the official podcast of The Athletic.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I've missed. I was in a hole.
The news was the news just dropped yesterday.
That's why Jade was saying everyone check things out on.
Yeah.
They're the official, I guess, basketball podcast of The Athletic.
I think basketball podcast. Yeah.
Dang.
I know.
What a sweet hookup.
It's crazy what happened there. Yeah. He went independent, like left ESPN.
Yeah.
Well, I was in LA.
Yes.
So I went for the live show.
Yeah.
And I even remember then they had like people from The Athletic out there at the show. I know there was like a little rumbling as to like what was going on, but that's where they are now.
Wow.
But anyway, rounding back, the reason why we mention it is anytime there's any kind of insider information that can't be leaked, they play bossa nova music over it, and it's just bossa, and they just go to bossa nova,
back out, and that's all. And then fades back out. So you literally are listening to the podcast. And they're like, should we bossa nova this? They're like, we should bossa nova this.
Yeah.
Music rolls in. You sit there for 20 seconds knowing they're talking about stuff that you don't get to hear.
Yeah.
But it's a really neat effect instead of editing it out and finding you're in, that you're just, it kind of ends up being what real life is. Like sometimes subjects come up and you don't realize it or surprises you that can't go out to the public, or not yet at least. And so they just roll music in over top and you can't hear anyone. It's the best thing ever. How do you first get linked up with those guys?
Twitter.
Was it Twitter?
I was a fan. I was just a fan back in their ESPN days.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, like I had a Twitter account for years that I just never used, but I found out that most of their interaction or most of what they do had been through Twitter.
Right.
And this all actually lined up in the same period as to when I was interning with, interning, and I met you and all that. And, and
some days are good, some days are bad.
Right. And
meeting them, good thing. Meeting me,
fine thing.
It's average.
It's good.
It's a thing.
It's good. It's a thing.
It's definitely a thing.
It was just I just started doing random edits.
Yeah.
I think the first one that like stuck out was I think the team was out in San Francisco, and they had
the Raptors being the team.
Oh, as in
the Dings guys.
Yes,
okay.
They were out there.
CTD. And
there was a photo of Amin El Hassan in front of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Right.
And I had joked, this reminds me of the 98 Degrees music video because of you, where they're singing at the top of the bridge. And in that moment, I said that. I remember like how the tweet went. I was like, it reminds me of this. And then I replied back and I was just like, wait, no, it's exactly like this. And I put Amin's head on every like member of it. Sent it, and from there, that's I remember.
All right, you're cool.
I got this. Yeah, I got a DM from Jade, who is the producer of it, and he's just like, "Who the hell are you?" Like that was basically the concept.
Who do you think you are? / you're awesome, and we love you.
And from there, it was just like one thing after another. I just random edits and
Silliness.
Getting to know them more. Yeah, silliness got me here.
I wanted to address this issue.
Sure.
And I don't know this issue as if it's bad. Why does the word issue always sound so bad? And maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but in a way, you kind of headed a new direction. You almost reinvented, where you're going and what you want to do with your career, all within that phase.
Yeah.
Am I close to being accurate with what I'm saying?
It was just a lot of like, I was doing this for fun and somehow opened up this whole idea of like, oh, I didn't know I could like really just do this. Right. And everything lined up too with like the internship at MLSE and staying with him after the fact.
Holy free agent signing for MLSE. Like, my goodness. You don't, well, okay, I'm going to pump your tires for a quick second.
Sure.
You went from, first of all, your relationship with mutual friend Caroline Schved.
Yes.
Right? You guys hit it off great. You launched Red Alert with her. You really got that going. Mm-hmm. And you were part of her career as her career trajectory took off.
Right.
And it's things like Red Alert that would have caught the attention of other people. And you were lockstep in that, pushing the boundaries of just doing something that's stuffy and basic and making it fun and making it alive and making it so much of her personality. Right. And so the two of you worked.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah, no, it was really fun that way. Yeah.
So you're doing Red Alert. You basically are the reason why Caroline Schved is Toronto famous. I'm going to put that all on you.
I text her every now and then and just remind her, like, I made you. As I'm watching a KFC commercial.
Don't forget me. No. / if you need a dog sitter, hit me up.
Right. Shouts to Cash.
And then when you moved over, you did stuff with couch surfing. Court surfing.
Yep.
What? Is there a show called Couch Surfing? Or is that just me? I'm couch surfing when I'm visiting friends.
Yeah.
Court surfing. They both start with
became Airbnb. The couch surfing was the original app name. Yeah.
But you moved over to court surfing, and you really livened up their digital presence as well, having a lot of fun there. And then you just pop in. It seems like on every brand and every entity with your unique flavor of awesomeness, where it's always the humor is always the same, and it's very much like that 98 Degrees humor,
right?
Where you're able to kind of take things that could inherently, in sports is definitely one of those things that can inherently be stuffy, and you make it alive and you make it fun for everybody. And that, I feel, in our time of knowing each other, has really been one of, you have these two legacies. One's I'm super knowledgeable Jerome Cheng, and the second one is I can also make you laugh harder than everyone else.
I don't know that I could do that.
Let's take it. We're on a podcast. You just have to say yes.
Yes.
Oh, you figured me out.
Yes.
Are you on court surfing as well?
No. So, I mean, Clay talks about this trajectory. It's weird how everything lined up. Everything with Count the Dings and doing all this stuff on Twitter, inadvertently turned into working with the Raptors during the All-Star campaign for DeMar and Kyle. So there was their Better Together campaign.
Yeah, the buddy campaign, but Better campaign, Together. Yeah.
Right? And I'm pretty sure it went around the lines of, hey, that video where you put the head on the thing, can you do that for these guys too? I was like, sure. Let's do it. Sure. Let's. And so and then that turned into that, but then it bounces back the other way. And over the course of this last summer, it was a lot of conversation. We just weren't doing anything at NBA TV Canada in the social digital space. So I know we just always we got together a ton of times over the summer as a group, everyone involved, and talked about what things do we like out there. Actually, I should send Jade royalty checks because all I kept on saying is I really like this podcast.
Yeah.
Where they do this thing and I like how they talk about it. I like everything they do out there. We should do something similar to that. And
can we give that voice a name?
I don't know.
You kind of slip into it.
I do.
You're yes, hello.
Yeah.
These are the things that I really like.
Right.
My voice is different, but I have a voice too that I can slip into. We need to, by the end of the podcast, give it a name.
It's similar. I think that was it Dave Chappelle would talk about his business voice or business meeting voice? That's what it was, right? It's the one sitting there yeah.
No, Dave.
Yeah, yes, that exactly. Court surfing. The concept is 2.5 hours of. We got Randy and Akil. Akil, first guest of the Stringer
podcast. Aw, can we high five to that? No one's going to see this, but that was a solid high five. Thank you. Yes, good old Akil. Lots of love to that guy. I've been with him since 2008. I think we've been working together.
Right.
Yeah. Akil Augustine, the
Akil
OG.
Augustine. And if you're watching basketball and especially the way NBA Twitter works, it's just a constant conversation. So we're just let's try to do as much as we can while we're doing
to
this.
Insert herself.
And
so, be part of it and be relevant.
Right. And I remember the original plan was that I would just kind of manage in the background as it was going on. But first episode, they're like, well, we have to tell people to follow us. Jerome, go sit in that chair right there. So I went to go sit there, and they're like, we got Jerome here doing it. And the goal, I don't think I've said a single word on the show yet, but I just wave. I usually throw up a peace signal.
Peace sign?
That's my, I just, peace sign. They made a hashtag hi Jerome.
I've seen all this.
Yes.
What a fun group.
Fantastic.
Between Akil and Randy and what they said. Can't say enough about Dwayne Watson and what he brings to the NBA TV Canada vertical. Wow, that's a lot of words to put all in one.
Right. That's how I found out where sweets came from. From your podcast, I found out where the sweets
came from.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be really like deep or something. He's like, oh no, it's just because the people would make fun of me because I like sweet things. I was like, oh,
Which if you spend like 20 minutes with Dwayne, like you would figure out like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. He likes sweets.
Because he was a really sweet guy.
Yeah.
Like
he
really,
is.
really sweet. It's amazing. What I found, especially on the NBA TV Canada side, how much a lot of those personalities put themselves there to help prop up other personalities.
Right.
Like I think again of Randy, of Akil, of Patty Choi, who people might not know, but what an incredible producer. That whole group. They do I find such a good job, I think, of Tierney as well on Raps Digital at propping up other personalities in the same sphere and in the same space. So everyone kind of succeeds together in our own little like Canadian NBA market. I say little, but it is kind of compared to the US, it is a little market.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just the idea of like everyone feeding off everyone else's energy. And everyone and the totality of it just like being such a much better product than each one of them being able to do bring on their own. It's fantastic.
Where do you go to school? Because you changed like your education direction, didn't you?
I did.
Your 20s. Well, I say that as if I don't know. That's such a mean thing when you ask someone a question.
It's a classic podcast move.
It is.
Yeah.
You're like, oh well, you were born, right?
Yes.
Tell us about that day.
That brings me back. That takes me back.
Classic podcast move.
Yeah.
Can we boss it over that too? No.
Well, okay. So yeah, I studied computer science at York University. I worked for, I think, 5 years in the IT field.
Yeah.
And I remember coming out of my last contract with a company and having kind of that summer to myself. And it was just like, do I find the next job that somehow builds this career, or do I do something completely different? And so that's how I end up applying for a multimedia program at Humber College. It's a 2-year program. I learned some video production. I learned some web design, graphic design.
It's like everything you're doing right now.
Everything I'm doing right now.
You applied. You know what people like? I went to school and I applied none of it. You literally applied like 98.4% of it.
Right. And then I remember there's an internship element at the end of it. And that internship turned out to be
Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment.
That's what it is.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's how I'm here.
And then right into sports.
Yeah.
There you go. Do you think in the world, and this is more of an opinion thing, and actually, Kyle, I want you to weigh in on this too, because we don't need 2 yes votes or 2 no votes. I want diversity here.
Right.
Is sports, is it a personality thing? Is sports the pinnacle? Like, is sports, when we talk of digital media, right, in the age we're in now, like we're not 30 years ago where everything was television and network driven. Is sports kind of the pinnacle of digital media production at this point because of our ability to have such a quick turnaround and keep creating the need that you can't just create a show and it be it, but you have to keep feeding the beast that is Twitter or Instagram, or is anyone even using Snapchat anymore? I don't know.
I have like one group chat in Snapchat.
Do you?
Yeah.
that you stick on?
And my friends like send me updates of what they're doing at work in the day. Yeah.
But does that question make sense? Like in a way, so it's 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, you're in school for this. Is sports kind of the pinnacle element of all these different trades or abilities combined?
Well, I know for me, like much like him, I went to teachers college first. And so
Okay.
I did a full concurrent education program at Lakehead.
Learning everything.
So I did that, and then I did my placement. You know, I knew right away that I wasn't going to do it and didn't want to do it, and I always wanted to get involved in media and film and stuff like that. And then I went to Sheridan for 3 years, like right out of Lakehead. And then I fell in love with documentary filmmaking, and that's what I always wanted to do. And then at the same time, I was also a huge sports fan. And then it just came to, you know, one of those things where, you know, over the course of it, you find out you get at MLSE when I was there and just got to make the blueprint. So it was kind of all these loves that came together of sports and documentary at the same time. So teams will always need content. It's just a matter of,
Well, I think also like, especially with something like MLSE, with all the teams that they have now, there's no off season. Whereas if you have a television show or a movie, like it has a cycle and you go off it afterward and you build something. But with that, like it's just a constant machine of like having to build one piece after another. And
the cycle's so short. Again, like it's 2 or 3 days.
Right.
If that.
Right. And there's just such an emphasis now of relevancy, of just the idea of like, when this happens, we want content about it within the day, 2 days even. Moments.
Yeah.
Moments is like, that's like the big word that like you get seen thrown around. It's like each of our teams have their documentary series. Like they're the long form stories, like everything you do documentary wise, but also just the idea of like being able to put out very high quality content that captures like the moment. There's this thing, I mean, for all of us sitting in this room who I'm sure like when it comes down to an editor or production can be very nitpicky about how the final product looks. Nah, not us, not these guys. There's something about putting out those kind of like ones that are like not the most produced, not the most edited, just raw moments, but capture the emotion really well. That people just resonate with. That's why you have things like a Snapchat or an Instagram story, because people tend to care about what you're doing right now, not what you did a week ago.
Right. Completely. You have to feed the current beast. Where's the line, do you think, between between news and humor? When it's tough. I remember, I was at MLC for like 9 years. There's definitely this spot for humor because people like to laugh and they like to see their athletes in this real life light of what they're like on day-to-day basis. We both work with Toronto FC. I think of someone like Nick Hageland, who moved on to Cincinnati, even Josie Altidore. Like these guys love to clown. And it's not that they don't know how to be serious, but they love their lighter moments and they love to make guys laugh. Where do you find the line? Because of a lot of what some of your skill set is being able to make people laugh through a digital medium. Where do you find the line between the news and the comedy aspect, especially when you're on the team side? You're getting all the heavy questions. I should have prepped you ahead of time, but it's neat because right now I'm like picking the minds of two equals, right? In the sense that we've all worked together and we work in the same field. And so now I get to almost open up the things I think about, but I've, no one to talk to about.
I mean,
sorry, Sean. I talked to Sean about it.
I think to answer that question for me, like I don't necessarily think about the balance because I kind of focus on what I'm into, more what I feel like is my natural tone and feel, which so often isn't really like a news coverage or a documentary coverage. Like I mean, I love the work that I see in terms of like the all for ones and the blueprints and the open gyms but I
know your audience. Know your audience. We're both on one side of the table and Jerome's on the other side. Right. So unfortunately, when he says something, he's like, I don't do so much documentary work. He's got to look into 4 beating eyes staring right back at him.
Speaking about Twitter, I remember at the end of the, right before the playoffs, I want to say, I did like a full on, I watched every episode of All for One that season. And I tweeted each episode with a comment on it. I did like my own live like tweet,
You're
like
amazing.
at a time where like I had like probably 30 followers.
You're amazing.
Yeah, but like I look at it
and his last tweet was Clay, you're garbage. Make way for someone better.
I remember going through it and like seeing all that work and being really inspired by it, but knowing also like I don't think I can necessarily do that.
Right.
Like I know there's like the idea of like the technical ability, which I could be confident about, but it's just like, do I have a voice for this? Do I have a voice for capturing that sort of thing? So I think that's what's so interesting and what's so great about a digital space is because there's no broadcast schedule. There's no, we have 24 hours in the day to fit all this in. There's the idea of like, it's unlimited bandwidth.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just finding your space. That's also why even when I think about the idea of doing like these funny videos, like I see so much work out there that I love and I think is better than mine. But I also think like we all, it's not so much about like doing the best or the funniest to me. It's about like, this is my take on it. And that's it.
Completely.
I'm just putting it out there.
I really relate to what you had said about seeing something and asking yourself or saying to yourself, I don't know if I have a voice, because that's how I feel about you. Like, I see a lot of your stuff and I really enjoy it. And Sean can vouch for this because we talk all the time about, you know, expanding the stuff that we work on and not just being so like we live in a really serious space here. A lot of this stuff we create is pretty, you know, it's ratcheted up pretty high to get a certain emotion out of people. But I want so desperately to be able to live in different areas as well. And I tell him all the time, and he knows this. I'm like, I just don't have the voice for it. And it's awesome to see like your counterpoint in someone else. Like I see what you're saying perfectly, except we're talking about each other, not knowing if we have the voice that the other person has. And that's what makes collaboration and this type of work so amazing. And that's what I always sought out, was just to be able to collaborate people that could bring things that I'm not able to bring.
People that are creative in ways that are different than you.
Completely.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is most people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one weird, like, little niche.
Yeah.
Niche? What is it called? Whatever. Nietzsche? No, that's
That's not the one. It's one of the first two.
of creativity. And I love, you know, and that's why I think I'm so enthralled with everything that you put out, just because, and I search you out. Like, I came across Count the Dings
right
because you were on it, and I'm like, oh, Jerome's part of a thing. And I think you were retweeting them and they were like shouting you out. And I was like, oh, who are these guys? Like, what's going, it's like an older brother or like a parent being like, who are these guys talking about my Jerome? They better be nice.
Right.
This better be serious.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. I think when you start off in this work, you kind of tell yourself like you want to be able to do everything. And that's usually a situation where more often than not, you come with the skills and ability, like you have the technical know-how to make this happen, but you just don't know what your own personality is. Like I think for all the ages that we are right now, like we're still always constantly in like a bit of a self-discovery as to like what resonates with us, what we want to put out there. And then, you just kind of get comfortable with the fact that like, I'm good at this. I'm not really good at this, but there's nothing wrong about not being good at this. Yeah.
Unless you have a client that wants you to be good at that.
Yeah, there's that.
And you're like,
that
don't worry, I'll just find the person that is. Yeah. Or you're on a project, and you're like, you gotta be goofy. You're like, Jerome, you gotta bail me out. Like, hard. I need help badly.
Change it from classical music. Yes. Yes.
Get rid of the piano and the ominous droning sound. I think those are my two go-tos.
Right.
You know, you just throw a little bit of that in and you got tension going. They're like, no, we want funny. You want funny. Slide whistle. Get me a slide whistle. Another thing that I really enjoyed, and when I realized that you were part of it, this is just like the Praise Jerome podcast today, I hope you don't mind, was Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I'm wildly uncomfortable.
Are you really?
No.
You can flip the switch if you want. You can just start pointing fingers at me.
No.
We can all talk about Dylan. His back is to us.
Right. I do like his maroon sweater. I will say that.
It's solid, right?
Yeah, it's a solid
he dresses so well.
Yeah.
I don't want to say he's the best dressed in the office.
Right.
But I think him and Kyle might be like neck and neck going for it. Thankfully, we only have like 5 people in the office. So, it's a really small
so you're
race.
all top 5 is what you're saying.
We are all top 5. And I'm happy being last. Marvel Cinematic University.
Right.
The podcast, which was, were you there from the beginning?
Yeah.
Wait, so was it a spin-off because it involves some of the other,
right. Okay.
cast members, personalities from the Dings folks?
Yes. So it's the Dings folks, but it's not like a property under Count the Dings. But basically what happened was we're all fans of the show. We all interact on Twitter. I think we're even in some group chats at that time. And I remember in this larger group chat, it started off with 2 guys. So Jake Christie, who's the producer of that, and Anthony Canton III.
The third?
The third, yeah.
Where's the second?
I'm assuming it's the father. That's my guess.
I just want to have a kid and jump him right to the third.
Right. Oh, that'd
be way better. It's like, oh, this is Clayton Hansel the third. Where's the second? I can control the birth certificate. Yeah. Write whatever I want. He's the 7th.
And I remember, so like being in the chat with him, I think it kind of went in a way where it's mainly a basketball chat because that's what at that time True Hoop was. So it's a lot of us talking about basketball, but there are a couple of voices in there and they're just talking about the Marvel movies that are coming out. And I think the big one at this point is we're all leading up to Infinity War.
Ooh.
Anthony would say something, Jake would say something, and I wouldn't necessarily join the conversation as much as I just make a snarky comment about about Marvel, and it just turned into a thing where both of them then created a smaller group chat and said, hey man, do you want to do a podcast? And I'm like, what's the concept? And they're like, we're going to watch all the movies week by week. They like timed it out and they knew like how it would run relative to when it would come out, Infinity War would come out. And we'll just do a podcast talking about each one. And I remember my initial thought, and I think I'm on record with them on the podcast saying, I don't know why you chose me. I really don't. Because when it comes to at least like the comic books, I don't have a deep knowledge of it. I'm a big fan of the films. I grew up on the X-Men animated series, right?
I think we're the same age.
We're
right? Are you in 84?
Yeah, there it is.
Perfect.
And
the X-Men animated series was by far the best.
Spider-Man and then Batman as well.
I was going to say, I was going to throw those in.
Yeah.
Those are the three, right?
Yeah.
And so like I grew up on those.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
And then all the films like the X-Men trilogy and the Spider-Man, like the Sam Raimi trilogy, like all of those. So I was familiar with like more of that world of it. And then like I got really into like the Marvel Cinematic University. Or university.
You're the university. It's such a brilliant name, though. Oh my god!
It was I forgot what the original name was, but it was already taken. So that's how we ended up there.
Really? That was your second choice?
I think that was our second choice.
Oh, so often I've been like, damn them.
Yeah,
I'd totally take it if I could.
And then, but yeah, so that's just how it happened. And it was crazy because we only knew each other through that group chat and through the odd interaction through Twitter. And then we record our first podcast together, really no hiccups. It seemed seamless. I think because the same way I described how our chats would go, like Anthony is the person who like really dives into the comics. Jake is like pop culture junkie, and I provide snarky comments
and fresh takes kind of on the movies, right?
Yeah.
You either approach it almost with the new eyes, where you don't have to be so critical, be like, oh, Thanos, that wasn't what he did yet.
Right. There was definitely the idea of like because a lot of these films I hadn't seen since they came out, and so just kind of catching up on all the plot and catching up and like really diving in. Like there is a difference in watching this when you have to think about it critically, you know, as opposed to just like sitting back and being like, I like how Thor threw the coffee on the ground. That was funny.
Yeah,
he is really funny. He's so handsome and funny. And now I'm like, but what does it mean for like moving forward?
How does it compare
to
the other? There's 21 movies right now part of MCU, which is wild.
Right.
I thought I would be like, maybe they're in the mid-teens now. 21.
Yeah.
Have you seen Captain Marvel yet?
I did.
You guys have podcasted on it, haven't you?
We have, yeah.
So I thought so, and I told the guys today, I'm like, I haven't listened to the most recent one because I had to see Captain Marvel first.
Of course, yeah.
And I went last night, so that because I knew you were coming today, I went right from work to go see Captain Marvel, so that we could meet eye to eye on it. Because I think the great thing about podcasting, especially the ones that you love, is there's that piece of you that believes you're part of the conversation, right? Because it's a very intimate thing. You have headphones or earbuds in, but then I always take it a step further where I have to insert myself in the conversation because I just want to be. I'm like, I feel like I'm part of it, but now I actually want to be part of it.
Right.
So can we just break down Captain Marvel?
Sure. Let's
and
talk about
thoughts. It. I'm going to use this as a great question. Kyle's seen it as well, which is awesome. Dylan, have you? Dylan shakes his head no. Are you okay with spoilers, Dylan?
Do I have a choice?
You can mute your headphones, your headset. We
don't have a live bossa nova in the room at the moment.
We just we feed different music into his thing. Yeah. First up, you asked this question, Kyle, and I loved it. How do you feel about the 90s, the fact that it was set in the 90s and how they did with it?
It was fun seeing the references. There was a lot of like, there is an element of like, hey, it's the 90s.
Yeah. They hit you over the head with it a little bit.
A little bit, which I I think it's difficult for, all of us in the room because we experienced it, but I think it probably does make, like, it's probably the same way that we may look at like an 80s or 70s film, like, oh, that was like what it was like. And I'm sure someone from that time.
That's 19 years old and didn't live through the 90s. You can be drinking in Toronto. You can be out of the club on Friday night and have not lived in the 90s.
Yeah.
Which scares the crap out of me. But yeah, I guess it's there.
I think it's, yeah.
They look back and they're like, that must have been what the 90s was like. Blockbuster videos.
But a lot of the jokes in the music, it seemed aimed specifically at people that would fondly remember the 90s. Like with the dial-up,
right.
And
yes.
waiting for loading and stuff like that. Like people
but it's like very like VH1 remember the 90s as much like less than it is like this is specifically like 1995 because like you're going through it and it's like, oh cool, like we're listening to Big Shiny Tunes too. But like it's like it's an anthology more than it is like
of the 90s. Than taking place in a specific year. I was a big fan of the Nine Inch Nails t-shirt or when Nick Fury told her to take off the flannel.
Okay.
He was like, lose the flannel. And I was like, okay, solid reference. You brought this up, Kyle. I loved it again. I'm sorry I'm going to steal all your points. The I'm Just a Girl.
It was a bit on the nose, but it was fun. I'm cool with it. I think like it hits and then, you know what's difficult too about it? I think it's three people who make like film and content. Yeah. So like you keep on seeing formulas all the time. Like you just like, so it's very hard to, you know,
it's true to just really sit back and turn your brain off.
Like, you know, like, okay, they did this because of this.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it.
It's funny because the whole time that they played No Doubt, I was thinking, I'm like, something's missing here. If I was doing it, that's literally what I went there. I'm like, how would I do it? Would I strip out some of the lyrics?
Right.
And just because the opening riff, I think, hits really, really well. And then it kind of comes disjointed. I'm like, is it fighting too much with the sound design? Which I think goes to your point that maybe I'm thinking about it too much.
Right.
They didn't intend that when making the movie.
But yeah, I mean, like, especially in the 90s element, I notice, I say probably in the last, 4 or 5 years, maybe a bit more, like, we're finally diving into that place where, like, John Hughes movies were, like, about the 80s. And now we're actually getting to see, like, stuff that, like, reflect our time. And it's, like, the most random thing, but one of my favorite 90s references was Pineapple Express. And the scene where Danny McBride's cat, I think, dies, and he's holding it in the bathtub, and he's playing Crossroads by Bone Thugs and Harmony. And when that happens, like, because it's so sudden for me, and it's not a very, like, it's not in the kind of way of, like, we're trying to be on the nose.
Right, like landing in a blockbuster.
Right, exactly. And, like, kind of, like, it's an obvious enough reference, if you know the song, but also, like, a legitimate surprise, and also in a way where like I'm starting to see like more 90s references come in in movies that I'm watching. I'm just like, this is perfect. Now I can relate to this. So I think like I don't know why that's always my point of reference of like this is how you do a reference.
Pineapple Express.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it back now.
Yeah.
I just want just for that.
Yeah. I remember like being in the theater next to my friend and cackling like this is brilliant. So like you guys don't understand, like this is where you could be like old man on the porch like yelling at the kids like
you don't know,
it doesn't matter that they're high. This is a brilliant reference. But yeah, definitely there's a lot of parts, but I think in the large space, like when it comes to Marvel, like I obviously am coming from a biased place because I decided to do a podcast about how much I love the series, but you know, when you're coming with Marvel, you're going to get a quality movie for the most part, especially for like everything that's come since probably latter half phase 2 to phase 3. Like I think they figured out the formula. What we always like talking about.
Whoa, latter half phase 2, phase 3. We
talking about latter half phase 2 or like going into phase 3.
So that is phase 3 kind of like Guardians when they came in?
Yeah, it's in around like Guardians is basically, I think to me, where they start realizing like get an indie director that nails character and tone. Don't worry, like I know you have to serve the larger beast of like the whole saga. That is this. I think they just recently called it. Now it's called the Infinity War saga.
Yeah,
really? The Infinity Saga. Yeah. And like just let them have more personal films, and that's why you're starting to get like sillier ones like Ant-Man, and you get like Thor Ragnarok, which like is
amazing.
It's my favorite, hands down. It's the best one for me, and you just get to this point of like they're so personal to the director that they're allowed to have that voice in there. And And suddenly the films are getting better that way. Like, yeah, I feel like Kyle had a point that
And
he
I was
was
going to
like,
ask, is Ant-Man technically the last film of Phase 2?
I don't know exactly where they all line up.
I think with Captain Marvel too, Marvel's films have just been so good for so long. Like,
Yeah.
I think when I saw Guardians, I had no expectations whatsoever.
Right.
And was blown away.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now I expect so much that I think if a film isn't on a specific level,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's good, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
Yeah. I think we're also like off the tail of like Infinity War, which is
Yeah.
just like the scale of Infinity War. There's no way you can match. And I think specifically to Captain Marvel, it was just the idea that the way they kept on setting up the character as being like the next hero to take this whole series into the new generation. I think I was sitting there like, this has to hit me the way Iron Man did when I first
Right.
came out. And then I realized that's an insane thought because at that time there's nothing else. And of course, that's part of why it had that impact.
Do you think it should have come out after Endgame?
That's a tough question because I think it's fine where it is. Like for me, it's just like a thing. And now it sounds like I'm working for Marvel. Like I trust the process of it. Like I feel like it's a fair question to ask now, but then you watch Endgame and you're probably like, oh, it makes sense.
Can I tell you why I'm glad that it didn't?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the last minute of the film,
Mm-hmm.
like of the actual film. That Dylan, poor guy over there. I was a little miffed at just a little tiny bit miffed at
Okay.
the end of Infinity War, as Fury like hits the button to page Captain Marvel.
Yep.
And in my head, I'm like, if she's been fucking sitting at home this whole time.
Right.
Like, what is going on? And I thought that was the perception I had the whole time, was
Yeah.
that she was just laying low somewhere on Earth.
Right.
Last
Like
minute.
hiding in a bunker.
Exactly. Last minute tells me that, no, she's gone.
Right.
Like, she left.
Right.
And is kind of dealing with things somewhere else. And so that made me, like, it made sense why the Avengers had gone through so much crap.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, super amazing, mutant doesn't just appear and blow everyone away.
Mm-hmm.
It made complete sense at that point. I'm like, oh, she's gone. Thank you. Like,
Right.
now I'm completely open to her coming back in Endgame and really making an impact.
Yeah. I think, and then I guess if we can frame this into like the work that we do, it's like asking yourself a question like, do I put the story of this particular game that we have in this episode, or does it come into the next one? And like, how does it fit for the large, like it's the big picture of
Right.
the season, like the
Right,
Marvel
completely.
season, right?
Right.
So, like someone can watch it and be like, oh, this feels like it's not there. But then you watch the whole thing and you're like, okay, now it makes sense why they fit it where they fit it.
My favorite moment, perhaps the most badass part, was when she first like realizes
Super Saiyan?
it's not. She goes Super Saiyan. That was the words I used earlier today. I was like, if she could just say Super Saiyan the whole time,
Right.
that is, and she's just like floating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god,
Right.
Can we just have all of this all the time?
Yeah.
Forget the stupid helmet. You don't need it. I never liked it in the Mohawk anyway.
I was a fan of the look.
Oh, did
I
you?
I liked it.
You know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I did like? I like every time she took off the helmet, her hair fell.
How it felt?
Like
Yeah.
it was all like whoom, and fell to the side of her head. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty badass. How do you feel?
Does it remind you of the time? Like, again, this is like more of a like throwing back. I was watching a commercial for a video game recently, and I was just commenting out loud. People don't understand how mind-blowing graphics were to us at a point. Like, people don't, like, the very fact, like, just when you describe the hair, like, obviously it's like, it's an all CGI thing.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to pull that off in the days of, like, Nintendo 64, I remember, like, getting Halo for Xbox, and we didn't even shoot each other. We just stared at the grass.
Yes,
We're
because
like,
it was
whoa.
incredible, and you could record gameplay.
Yeah.
and I just play it back on my Xbox all the time.
Right.
Because I'm like, this is outstanding. The detail in the sky and the
Right.
rock faces and everything.
Yeah. And now it's just like,
Kids
every
don't
day.
know.
Yeah, kids don't know.
Not at all. I went back and I played GoldenEye recently.
Oh, yeah?
Terrible.
It's,
like it's great.
yeah.
The polygons.
Oh, what's
Oh,
that?
yeah,
What
yeah.
size
So
TV?
fierce.
Huge?
Yeah.
Yeah. On the 55.
Oh,
inch
it's
TV.
like,
It's so bad.
yeah, like the way you hide like bad footage by just watching on a phone, you're like, oh yeah, okay, this looks like pretty good. Like this is not the most like high res. And then like it's the same thing like when you blow up. I remember okay, this is the last one so we can talk about it. I remember my friends tried to play Lethal Enforcers off the Super Nintendo on a large screen, and it just wouldn't work. Like, it just couldn't detect the pixels at that point because, like, it wasn't expecting, like, this many
pixels to be able to pick up. I thought they hit some of those comedy bits pretty well. Yeah. Because she was a smart ass.
Right.
But not in the Tony Stark kind of way.
No.
But she just feed it back to someone every once in a while, which is very... Watch out, here's a guy's perspective coming on a woman's life.
Sure.
But it feels very much like someone who's been held back for no good reason for so long.
That's the whole theme.
Exactly. That she just feels this need to just prove it to people. Like, just...
Counterpoint.
Yes.
I don't... Well, because, like, it happens in the fine... Sorry, Dan. It happens in the scene with Jude Law where he tries to reframe it like I'm so proud of you for achieving this moment.
Right.
And she says to him, like, I don't need to prove anything to you.
Right.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Right. And I think that's what I love the most about it is just the idea that at no point in the film do I actually feel like she has a need to prove anything to anyone. I feel like she's all powerful.
Interesting.
And that she's being held back.
Yeah.
And she's never had any like lack of confidence in her ability. It's really just a matter of everyone else getting used to it, which like if you want to dive into like the social commentary idea that like in talking, like I remember talking to Nitz, it's just like the idea of three guys talking about a woman's experience. But
I think just from like a character standpoint, I think my faults, like I don't have a problem with Brie per se, but I think like her character was the victim of the film.
Okay.
Like, I think she was kind of just, you know, a straight line all the way through, like, as far as her arc was concerned.
Right.
I kind of wish that we had gotten a taste of all of that backstory first.
Okay.
I don't know, like, going back through with all these, like, clips and, you know what I mean, all historical footage and going back through her memory and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You got, like, brief glimpses into these moments that were going to, like, really bring her to where she was. But
right.
That was really all you got with it.
Right. Like, I think to your point, like, it would have been interesting to see what... like Carol Danvers was before any of this happened. Yeah. Get a little more of that.
Yeah.
So like I agree on that front, but like, yeah, like I know there was a, kind of criticism say like, to your point, it's like, it felt like very linear. Like there's no like journey to it, but I almost feel, and like, this might be just being an apologist or like giving too much credit, but,
a
like
Marvel employee.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I could get like one free ticket to like for all this.
Help me out.
Yeah.
I would love to see Endgame overnight.
Right. But I think it's like, maybe that was the point. Maybe the point was that like in this world of it, like she doesn't need to prove it because she's already way more powerful than everyone else. And it's all for everyone else to just like kind of just accept it.
Like just realize what already is.
Yeah. Realize what already is. So I think that was my take on.
I love Jude Law's bit when he was like, just, you know, face me one-on-one. He's like, can you control it? He tried to make it her problem.
Right.
Can you control her emotions? Right. And she's just kind of like, boom, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to listen to you.
Yeah.
Beating you is beating you.
Right.
I don't need to do it in a special way.
Like his way to win was to actually limit her.
Right. Completely.
Quite literally.
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and so because of that, I was just like, okay, if that was the point of the film, I'll be more forgiving to it. Because like, I think again, in your traditional like mindset of like what a story is supposed to be, like she has to have a journey, but maybe that's intentionally not the case.
I like the fact it almost broke the fourth wall. Sorry, going back to my point. That's all I do. I just circle back to my point. I guess it's the point of having your own podcast.
That's a good host.
In a way, it broke the fourth wall, which I enjoyed too, because Marvel doesn't really do that too much, but it breaks the trope. Where usually, you know, you have hero versus villain. Yeah. It's like, you want to lay down, let's lay down. Like the guns come off, the jacket comes off, you roll up your sleeve and they duke it out for like 25 minutes. And they're like, no, boom, done.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to go that route. We just need to, you know, tidy this up because we already know through the whole film. Like it'd be ridiculous if we then thought for a minute, maybe she's not more powerful than him.
Right.
Then it like defeats the purpose that she beat up all these other guys.
Yeah.
I like the term beat up.
Yeah. I remember, I said this also on the pod as well, but I remember when she goes...
For those who want more, tune into the Marvel Cinematic University.
Yes. Available on Apple Podcasts. And
Spotify?
I don't know if we're on Spotify. I think we're on SoundCloud at least.
SoundCloud? That's perfect.
Yeah. This I'm not...
I get you guys on iTunes. I know I got you on iTunes.
But it's funny watching and thinking about it, like when I saw her blasting a ship, I remember like distinctly having the thought like that probably will hurt Thanos. You just start sizing it up and figuring out like how powerful she really is there. Yeah.
How substantial do you think her role is going to be?
I have her in a place of being similar to how Hulk was in Avengers, like the first Avengers, just like specifically the scene where he like slaps around Loki, like Loki tries to like put him in his place and he just like slaps him like fuck out of here, right? And
Shout out.
I know she's supposed to be the most powerful moving forward, but I don't like, to Clay's point, she's not meant to be like Tony Stark Part 2.
No.
Right? So if like, is she going to be like a moral leader, spiritual, or is she just like the most powerful? And if that's the case, then I think her impact is just like she's the biggest weapon that they got.
So this is, it's kind of, we started with sports, so we moved to Marvel, which is a perfect culmination for what we're going to do next, because it is March crazy time.
Yes.
Where everyone puts in these predictions and has all these things they lay in front of us.
Okay.
So I thought we'd have a little bit of fun and do our own bracket challenge.
All right.
Marvel style. But you guys might... So we have everyone listed 1 through 14 so far. I took a little bit of liberty with seating. What I did was I ended up using worldwide box office gross.
Okay.
Not adjusted for inflation of the dollar. But if we run down quickly our 1 through 14, we have one at Infinity War at 1, made $2 billion. Avengers, $1.5 billion. Age of Ultron, $1.4 billion. Number 4, Black Panther, $1.3 billion. This is a lot of money. Iron Man 3, $1.2 billion. Captain America, Civil War, $1.1 billion. Then, we're out of
Isn't it great that we could be so critical about these films and they won't, like, they're making billions?
They
like,
don't
it doesn't matter.
They're just like, shut up, stupid podcast in a room.
Just keep paying me.
Just keep paying me.
Yeah.
Homecoming, $880 million. Guardians 2, $863. Thor Ragnarok, $854. Number 10, Captain Marvel, who isn't even finished their run in theaters. Number 10, Captain Marvel, $779 million. Guardians at 11, $773. Captain America, Winter Soldier, $714. Doctor Strange, $677. Thor Dark World, $644. It's funny, I put Thor there on purpose because if I just put Dark World, I'd have no idea what film that was. Because it's completely forgettable for me. I think I fell asleep in it twice. As you see, I only filled out 14 of the 60, and that's because, as I said earlier, there are 21 Marvel films. So I thought we had to do a little bit of a wild card challenge.
Sure. Okay.
So to get in on the wild card challenge, we needed 8 teams. There's only 7 more films. Well, shit. I'm going to read off. We have seeding after that. I'm going to read everything but 1 and 8. So 2 versus 7 for the wild card spot 2. Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
3 versus 6. We have Iron Man versus Captain America. I was upset to see that Captain America, the original Avenger, comes 6th seed on the wild card list. I love that movie so much. 4 versus 5, Ant-Man versus Thor. Now here's what I had to do for 1 versus 8 in the wild card race.
Okay.
Iron Man 2 is 1 because Iron Man 2 came in at $623 million.
Okay.
Wild card 8th spot. Endgame.
So this is just like predicting.
Because I have a feeling, like, even as I wrote it, I'm like, Endgame could sneak into one of those final 2 wildcard spots just because of the hype we've seen out of 1.5 trailers.
Right.
There's so much sitting there. So
Endgame might make more than these in like the first 3 hours.
That's what
we were talking about that today.
Before. We're like, they could do 750 million, 800 million opening weekend,
right,
and blow everything out of the water. So I got pens for you guys,
okay,
so you can figure this out as we go along. I hope this is fun for the listeners. I'm not sure. I don't think, like, we're gonna get through these wild cards pretty quickly, just so we know what our 15th and 16th seed is.
Yep.
But I think we'll have a little bit more fun, kind of going back and forth and deciding who's gonna beat who in our top 16.
And this is just purely on like what our preference is between these, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like we get to argue points,
right?
I think, but it's just preference.
Well, so because we do the podcast, we have like an actual rank, like our own personal ranking. So I've already I've gone through every one of these, like knowing like, okay, that beats that beats that.
Jerome already knows what our final 2 is. I hope the opening rounds will be pretty straightforward though too, because you get your 1 seed versus your 18 and stuff like that. So let's start on the right side of the wildcard bracket. Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Incredible Hulk.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
We're gonna go Ant-Man and the Wasp. You move on to the second round.
Yeah. Like that's especially like that small space of like it's almost like an indie film, but like it's super fun.
Yeah.
Also Louise and Endgame, we need that.
Captain America and Iron Man. The first Captain America versus the first Iron Man. This might be difficult because you said what an impact that first Iron Man made on you.
Oh no, Iron Man for me is the pick on that one, personally.
Really?
But I know you're on Captain America's side, right?
Jesus, what are you? What? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Kyle,
I think I'm gonna go Iron Man with this one.
Yeah, I would say Iron Man is
we got 3 Iron Mans and 1 Captain America.
Is there a host veto that you can just makes it through?
Yes, but I'm not going to use it right now.
Okay. All right.
So then finish off the right side of the bracket. Find out who our 16th seed is. Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Iron Man. What? Are you kidding me? You just beat out Captain America with Iron Man and it's not an easy win over Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Well,
clown.
So it's too. This is not DC. I'm not the Joker. Well, this is where it comes down to it helped to rewatch them, because if I didn't, I would probably jump to Iron Man because of the impact. But like I said, I feel the movies get better over time.
I've recently rewatched all of them in October. I went every day
Right.
watching one per day.
Right.
So they're fresh.
Right. The quality gets better.
It does.
Yeah.
Iron Man 1, where he has to bust out of a cave. He has to have a thing implanted in his chest in order to take. He breaks apart a missile in order to create it
Iron Man
himself.
is fantastic. It does not nail.
It doesn't end
stick
well,
the
does it?
landing.
No. I was.
Obadiah.
Yeah, Obadiah Stane.
It definitely left
Although
me
Jeff
wanting.
Bridges on oh my gosh, Segway.
Segue. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
With a cigar in his mouth.
Yeah.
Oh my god, so good. I'm personally Ant-Man and the Wasp on that one, which I feel is an arguable point, but that's my choice.
I heard that too.
I'd have to go Iron Man. It's the only one that plays Black Sabbath, right?
It is. Oh,
Yeah.
whoa, interesting point.
Yeah, but Ant-Man
Yeah.
and Wasp plays Partridge Family.
The soundtrack to both Ant-Man films,
Yes.
Loki, the score on those are fantastic.
I'd be curious to look up, and I haven't done this yet. This is where I should do my preparation, but I never were going to go down this road. How the music supervisors changed from movie to movie, because that really, if you look at the last 4 years of Marvel movies or 5 years, the music has been outstanding, and they save the real heavy scores really for the Avengers films,
Right.
And they go purely soundtrack, which was a 90s thing that I think film completely got away from, going to soundtracks. That they've done that since Guardians, and they've really left their stamp using soundtracks. All right, so we have 2 for Iron Man, because I'm totally going Iron Man. 2 for Ant-Man versus the Wasp. We're gonna settle this good old fashioned way. Dylan, you and Jerome, winner takes all. There we go.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors. No dynamite, no tricky stuff. It's
3?
rock, paper, scissors, go.
How is this going to pick up on the podcast?
1, 2, 3, shoot. Oh, there we go. Ant-Man versus the Wasp. Jerome is victorious twice. Twice. First you take out Captain America with Iron Man, then you take out Iron Man with Ant-Man versus the Wasp.
Which will soon be eliminated by Infinity War, just for what
Well,
it's worth. It survived only this one.
So we have Ant-Man and Thor. You're 4 and 5. Where are you going to go there? First Thor. It's over here on
Ant-Man
the
versus
because
Thor.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. Dill, do you feel good about that? Ant-Man, that's 4 for 4. Ant-Man moves on. Iron Man 2 versus Endgame. Iron Man 2 is so forgettable.
bad.
I have a friend that explained the 3 Iron Man, the sequence of 3 Iron Mans so perfectly, is that it's the typical thing where everyone thought 1 Iron Man was cool, so you're going to give you 10 Iron Men. And you get to 3, they're like, oh, 10 Iron Men worked really well, so here's 50. They just kept adding more suits
Right.
each and every time.
Right. It's the, was it Pimp My Ride of...
It is. Well, this one does this, and this one can water ski.
Right.
This one has a fishbowl in the feet.
You also need to watch Iron Man 2 with the wrestler to explain why Mickey Rourke is in it. For people, years down the road, because that's the only reason why he makes it, right?
Yeah.
It's the, 1 year renaissance of
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell's great in that film.
He's fantastic. That's one of the... I wish he... I hope he comes back, because, his character still exists, and it's, an important one. Sam Rockwell's fantastic in everything.
So with Iron Man 2 going out mercilessly to a film that hasn't even been released yet, Endgame versus Ant-Man.
It's probably going to be Endgame.
I think it is now. The trailer of I love Ant-Man, but the trailer of Endgame has me more hyped. Dylan's got something to say.
I mean, Marvel lies in their trailers, though. That's the thing. They don't.
what do you mean they lie?
Oh, they just put stuff in there to throw you off. They did it with Infinity War.
With a film like
The
this,
Infinity
that's all I
War,
want.
Hulk is running through Wakanda in the Infinity War trailer.
Correct.
Yeah, who knows what will happen.
I actually have that score on my phone.
Oh, nice.
From the Endgame
Right.
trailer, the first one.
Okay.
Any sports hype video should be made to that. Yes.
That's our next. Are we going to do the next Kings of CONCACAF?
Yes.
Using the end game score. I don't know if we can get the rights.
No.
We don't have the budget
Have you
there.
seen the Sean Kay like running through a wall as Captain America from Winter Soldier that we made like when we won the supporter shield?
I don't think so.
I will share that with you.
And it'll get it on the Twitters.
There you go.
On the Twitter sphere. Okay, we're going to go down the left side of the bracket now.
Okay.
If you're following at home, you're not. It took me forever.
We can make the bracket.
And then share it out with people?
Yeah, and then...
Oh, that's a great idea.
then
See, look, the digital brain over
It's
here. You notice how
It's watch along. Listen along.
undigital this is?
Yeah.
I hand wrote each of our brackets. That's my hand. Like, I could have just found a way to type it in. No, that's Clay. I didn't.
Let's say it's staying on
scan
brand
it.
with Captain Marvel. Like, this is how it would have been done in the 90s.
In the
Yeah,
90s. Yeah, way to go, Clay. Infinity War versus Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Infinity War.
Yep.
I don't think there's much of a thing here. There's a much complaint. 8 versus 9 seeds on the left. Guardians 2 versus Ragnarok. This is interesting.
It's not even close
No.
for me.
It's Ragnarok.
It's Ragnarok.
I'm going to go Guardians too.
You go to Guardians too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going Guardians 2 as well.
Oh.
I was entertained
All right.
by Thor Ragnarok, but Guardians 2 hit me.
Okay.
And for me, the Ragnarok brilliance was stolen from the color and the sound of Guardians.
Okay.
Like, I kind of felt like Thor had this Guardians tone to it,
Sure.
which made a dying series good because Thor 2 stunk.
The Thor 2 to Thor Ragnarok, that's a fair point. But the like Ragnarok to Guardians argument, like in terms of like it doing like it's
The opening scene, unfortunately, might be the best part of
Okay.
Guardians 2.
okay.
Right, like
Oh, yeah,
little Groot dancing around
Right.
as they're fighting a giant monster is
Yeah.
unbelievable. I just remembered that
Does
his
Thor
dad
fight
is a
the Hulk
Earth-
in Guardians 2? Because he doesn't. I'm just saying. I mean, for me, it's an easy choice. Guardians 2 is like actually not one of my favorites, to be honest. Although,
Really?
yeah,
of 2 Guardians. It's not one of your favorites. There's only 2.
of the whole series.
Interesting.
Although I think I would say there is an element the same way Iron Man, like you're like more Iron Men throughout the series. Guardians 2 it feels like it does a thing where it tries to out Guardians itself, but doesn't do it as well. Where I would argue Ragnarok might have out Guardians.
Ragnarok it is. Is there anything funnier?
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take it 100 because I realized that everything I base Guardians 2 off of is Groot dancing around at the beginning, and the fact
Also,
that
when
his dad
Groot
is a
grabbing
planet
the key,
sucks.
that's a fantastic scene.
When Groot's grabbing the key,
When they're trying to talk Groot into getting the key
Oh, yeah.
from prison is
and he keeps bringing different things
Yeah.
back.
I don't have like the full like quote, but like the scene where Rocket Raccoon in that moment is explaining or like talking back with Groot, but like because Groot's only going like I am Groot, and just like the back and forth conversation of like Rocket like breaking down what he's saying is really really good.
I really want the image of Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel in their respective sound booths looking at each other going back and forth, and Bradley Cooper says his line
Right.
and Vin Diesel's like I am Groot or
Have you
whatever.
seen the
I am
behind the
Groot.
scenes footage of Vin Diesel on stilts, like being method of being Groot?
No, but that's kind of weird.
It's amazing.
Just a little. You don't need to be on stilts,
Yeah.
bud. Number 4 versus number 13. You have Wakanda and Black Panther versus Doctor Strange. Now, I know, Kyle, you said Doctor Strange, one of your least favorite.
Bottom 3. I hate
Bottom
it so much.
three.
it's not like bottom, but like it's not great either.
I have not watched it since I watched it the first time, and there's
Fair.
a reason for that.
Fair.
You should watch it a second time, though. You might really like it a lot more. Dill, we're going to go to you for the first. You get the first pick on this. Black Panther at number 4 versus Doctor Strange at number 13.
I only saw one of these movies in the theater, and that was Doctor Strange. But I'm going to go Black Panther.
Whoa. Have you seen Black Panther since?
I saw Black Panther on an airplane.
Okay, thank goodness. Because that would be weird if he hadn't seen it at all and he still picks the other one.
Right.
He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I've only seen Doctor
Oscar
Strange,
nominated Black Panther.
and I picked Black Panther. Oscar winning. Academy Award. It won
for Best Picture.
For costume, not for Best Picture.
right.
Won for costume and maybe original song.
I feel like original songs.
I think it took 2.
yeah.
No.
No.
Wait, no, it would have been. It's
A
Lady
Star
Gaga.
is Born.
Star is Born,
Oh,
definitely
sir.
one.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So,
Was that- so
indirectly, it was
original
Guardians that
score.
won because
Maybe
it's
original
Bradley
score.
Cooper involved with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that works.
Bradley Cooper still wins,
Right.
which is incredible. That's how he's built up his own Bradley Cooper universe that we call the BCU. Kyle, what are you feeling for this one? Black Panther, an easy one?
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, so Black Panther across the board. Though I will say, because we're losing it, we're never going to get it back. Doctor Strange, first of all, I put Black Panthers. Sorry, guys. I'm going to scratch out that S. I can't do two things at once, clearly. Doctor Strange hits me in a way that none of the other films do, and I really, really enjoy it, and I've watched it back 4 or 5 times because it puts me in a spot, and it has just a humor to it. I love Benedict Cumberbatch. And just it develops in such a different way than all the other films.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I enjoy watching it. I really enjoyed Black Panther way more than I thought I was even going to. I felt it was overhyped coming out of the gate,
Yep. I agree.
and I was really worried about that. I was like, oh no, here we go. Like my hopes are gonna be high, and so then I bring my hopes down, but then they're way higher than they ever could have been. Black Panther was incredible. Doctor Strange, though, of all the films, gets me in a way that no other film
Most improved,
does.
in my opinion, like Doctor Strange,
Most
in Doctor Strange
improved.
up to like Infinity War.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he's killer in Infinity War.
Yeah.
He's so good in it.
Your 5 versus 12 seeds, Iron Man 3 versus Winter Soldier. I think everyone, after my scathing thoughts on Iron Man 3 and the whole Iron Man trilogy, probably guessed that I'm going Winter Soldier here. Everyone would, though. Isn't it like everyone's favorite?
I didn't mind Iron Man 3,
Okay.
but I'm gonna go Winter Soldier for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Winter Soldier is the pick for me.
Oddly enough, it's fitting. Everyone raves that it's one of their favorites.
Yeah.
Not one of my favorites.
It's
Probably
not one of my
middle.
favorites. Yeah.
In middle of the pack somewhere.
Yeah. I think, but yeah, I hear it a lot. It's for a lot of people I've talked to. They're like top 5.
I think it was just different at the time when it
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah, and it's the most serious film.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
as a
for sure.
It is
standalone,
pretty,
like, it's like
yeah.
a spy thriller.
Yeah.
I think it's really well done. It just doesn't do anything for me personally. That's all. Yeah.
I like you teased it earlier. You're like, in case we don't get to talk about Guardians again, we look to the other side of the bracket now. You're 6 versus 11 seeds. Civil War at 6 versus Guardians at 11.
I saw this and I
That was tough.
I don't. Captain America Civil War, I think. For me, I feel like that was the introduction to Phase 3.
Yeah,
Civil
I think
War.
that's what it is.
It was the first movie. And
There it is.
Is it?
There you
Yeah.
go. Nailed it.
I saw
Nailed it.
Dylan had it pulled up the whole time. He's just too nice to like interject on the conversation.
I think you get our podcast now.
Yeah.
I think those are the rules.
Civil War, it's the fight scene between Cap and Iron Man is incredible. Like,
Well, the airport scene for me.
Yeah.
oh, that's fun. I just like the two of them duking it
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
I like that.
and
The
the
emotional weight.
emotional weight. I like the Spider-Man introduction.
Oh, that's pretty fun, isn't it?
Yeah,
Off
it's really
the
good.
top.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm going with Civil War for 6 versus 11. Dill.
I'm going Guardians.
Oh, Guardians 1 beats Civil
Okay,
War.
I'm gonna make
just
it
had-
difficult for Kyle first. I'm gonna go Guardians so we can leave it on him to decide where he wants
This
to
is a
go.
battle between the two I've seen the most.
It's also Guardians was such a game changer.
I'm gonna go Guardians. That's it.
Host veto. Host veto. Host veto. I get to use it. I'm sorry. This is totally where I want to use it.
I mean, is it really worth it? Looking at who they're going to have to face in the next matchup, they're done.
Yeah, Age of Ultron or Thor: Dark World.
Joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, Civil War is making like the conference finals or whatever you want to call it.
Dylan's amazing. He's like, it's a joke. Your 3-14 matchup, Age of Ultron. How the hell is that 3? Lots of people watch
an
it
Avengers,
worldwide.
Yeah, because it was a
it's
sequel
an-
to the Avengers.
Yeah.
Shoot me in the head. Thor: Dark World. As I said, I only put Thor in there so I remember what movie it was. How are you?
Natalie Portman was in 2 Marvel films.
No.
Amazing.
I'm gonna go with Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say by a long shot, which is also a shame because
Right.
Age of Ultron's also gonna lose by a long shot.
Yeah.
Dark
Yeah.
World is so bad. It is so bad.
It's really bad.
Well, I just hated Kat Dennings in either of the Thor films.
Oh, really?
Oh, that comedic relief. You know what I mean? Natalie Portman going on dates with that dude from
Right, okay.
Bridesmaids.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's her.
Yeah.
I love Kat Dennings
Ugh.
so much.
But it has the emotional weight of Loki dying, right? That's what happens.
Right?
Which time was
Again?
that?
Yeah. I'm tired of seeing him die. You're 7 versus 10. Homecoming versus Captain Marvel. Oh, you're 2 of your most recent films.
Mhm.
Homecoming and Captain Marvel.
Okay, I'll pipe in first.
Will you please do?
Homecoming.
That's Kyle nods his head, forgetting there's a microphone in front of him.
I've only seen one of these movies.
You have actually only
Based
seen
on
one.
our synopsis, how do you feel about Captain Marvel?
Based on the last minute, which I've now fully described,
I'm going Homecoming.
I'm going Homecoming 4 for 4. Okay, 2 versus 15, which might be the second hardest on my list. The Avengers,
This
the
is not
original
difficult just
Avengers.
because I didn't see it yet. So like I can't. And Avengers is actually that good.
You gonna boot. Endgame dies in the round of 16.
Which I think is a fair, like, let him get into the tournament. But I mean,
Kyle says yes.
Avengers.
Dylan says
Avengers.
yes.
yeah. Like if it was a different film,
I
like,
thought this would be a bigger debate.
if it was
but
like
it's not.
against Thor: Dark World, then it would have made it further. You know? like there are films on here, but Avengers is like one of the tops.
Yeah, you're weighing that film versus the hype of.
Either way, an Avengers film wins. In this,
Yeah.
so this is fine.
It's
Yeah.
true.
I wrote Avengers.
Okay, we're on to the quarterfinals now. We have Infinity War versus Ragnarok. I'm looking at Jerome to weigh in on this first.
Oh, like I know I'm losing this one, so I'm just gonna say this right now.
Ragnarok?
Ragnarok for me personally, but I know it's gonna be out at that point.
Kyle?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Infinity War.
Yeah, I'm going Infinity War.
I'm voting Ragnarok as well. This is.
What?
You're being ridiculous.
I love that movie. It's great.
You can't even. Okay, I'm not using. Maybe I get a different veto each
How many
round.
vetoes do you have? We didn't
I don't know. Infinite.
Okay.
Infinity
The
vetoes.
Infinity War
maybe
of- yeah.
maybe one round. Not
Okay.
including the finals. I can't veto the end
Of course. Yeah,
because
okay.
that would be
That's fair.
unfair. So Jerome, me and you.
Oh, I was gonna let, even though
You gonna let Dylan 1, 2, 3 shoot it?
yeah, I feel like he's learned a lot since the last one.
Oh. Okay, you ready, Till? 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Damn it!
No.
Ragnarok moves on to your semifinals.
That is off.
This
The season
is
of upsets.
crazy. They killed off everyone in the half of them in the frickin' movie.
Maybe I don't
and that's
like
not
that
even
that
big
much.
enough.
The snap
And
doesn't
you like
discriminate.
Drunken Aliens better? That was
Really
the
fun
best.
film.
I
It's a
love
really
that at the
fun-
beginning
It's
of
a really good.
Ragnarok.
Infinity War doesn't have Jeff Goldblum. How about that?
Which was an amazing inclusion. I was so happy. I think days before I watched it, I just rewatched Fly. Just out of, and then I was on a plane and watched Ragnarok, and I was like, "Oh, this is incredible! This is everything I ever wanted." Black Panther, Winter Soldier. I'm going Winter Soldier. I didn't like Black Panther. I liked it, but not enough to take it a cat movie.
This is kind of a toss up for me because I'm pretty indifferent in who comes out of this one. Like I'm fine either way.
I will. Only one winner moves on.
Okay, come back to me.
I saw Black Panther like after everyone had just told me that it's the greatest film ever made, and then I watched it and I was like,
I feel like we've had this conversation in person.
I think we have.
Yeah. Okay, so
You're
Winter
in
Soldier.
person now.
right?
No.
In the moment.
Was
after.
it 10 minutes ago?
Dylan?
I'm going Winter Soldier. Soldier.
Jeez, so I am actually the tiebreaker at this point.
Oh, did you go Black Panther?
You went.
No.
Oh wait.
No,
so
Winter Soldier.
Oh, great. Okay.
We're moving on. Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Go to the right side of the bracket. Age of Ultron, Civil War. I think Civil War takes this cleanly.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron was okay, but not great. Civil War was incredible.
Unofficial
Says
Avengers
Clay.
film.
Yeah.
Unofficial, exactly. Avengers Homecoming. Original Avengers. First Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. Dill, let's go with you first, pal.
You got to go with the original, the Avengers. There, it was so set the stage.
I agree.
There's two.
Homecoming.
I'm going Homecoming as well. I would have lost Avengers to Endgame, crazy enough, as I did like the first one, but I'm so hyped about Endgame.
Not to be a person in working strategy, you can avoid the rock, paper, scissors by using your one veto in this round.
Homecoming it is.
There it is.
Woo, he's brilliant. Thank you very much. I'd like to be in real life a commissioner of a league that gets vetoes each round, where I just decide I'm like, nah, I want the Leafs to win this time around.
Right.
Thank you very much. We're on to the semifinals. I feel like if we had advertisements to roll in, this would be a good time to roll in an
Yeah, yeah,
advertisement. We're like,
DraftKings.
and we're back
Right.
into the semifinals. On the left side of your bracket, you have Ragnarok, which was the 9th seed, versus Winter Soldier, which is the 12th seed. This is the side of the bracket that had your number one It had Infinity War, and we're down to Ragnarok at 9 and Winter Soldier at 12. Kyle, you can go first. Who do you got?
I'm gonna go Captain America, Winter Soldier.
I got this out of spite at this point.
You just want Ragnarok to
It's
win.
gone.
Someone
hard.
rewind this podcast to the point where I was like, Winter Soldier's fine. It's not that great.
No. Ragnarok beating Guardians 2 has left me salty. I've just been waiting.
Obviously, you know
Jerome.
what my pick is. Ragnarok.
Dill,
You go first.
I'm going to go Ragnarok.
Okay, I'm going Ragnarok.
Ragnarok wins out. Ragnarok is in the finals. The 9th seed is in the final. Do we have the official seeding, right? Of course we do. From NCAA.
Well, what 9 seed do you want? There's like 4 of them.
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't know. Just pick one.
You want Baylor?
Baylor's a good comparable.
UCF? Oklahoma?
Oklahoma.
Washington?
I'd see Baylor in a final.
I just want to
That's
see
not crazy.
like all our listeners in Twitter comments defending Ragnarok because it is heavily underrated based on this whole earning.
Is it at Kyle
Measurement.
Perry? At Kyle Perry 9?
1985.
At Kyle Perry 1985. You can shit on this guy. Let him know how much you like Ragnarok.
It was good.
No, I'm just against the fact that the ranking was at 9. I understand the rationale behind it.
Yeah.
But in terms of like it's my number one.
It's
In the entire MCU, it's
Oh
number
yeah,
one.
it's my number one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll read you out like my. I have it here.
Interesting.
It's on my iPhone in my notes because we always have to bring it up in a podcast. But here, let's get through.
Give it
this.
to us once we get
Exactly.
see who else is in the final. We have Homecoming versus Civil War. I'm going with my number one, which is Civil War.
Okay. Oh no! I'm like
He's
okay.
like,
No,
okay.
No.
That's a dumb pick, Clay, but okay.
Okay. Homecoming.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna go Civil War.
Thank you very much. Dylan.
He's in Civil War. I feel.
No,
that.
he's going Homecoming because he likes to create problems.
Well, someone has a veto this round, right?
No, I don't. I'm not going to use a veto this round. Just go with what you think's better, which is clearly Civil War.
I'm going Homecoming.
You gotta be kidding me! What? No, you know what? Dylan.
I voted for Guardians in the
Dylan.
Civil War should have lost in the
In his
first
defense,
round.
my argument is for Civil War. I probably go back and watch like YouTube clips of specific action scenes, but for Homecoming, I would watch the whole film top to bottom.
No, you know what? The little bit in the obelisk doesn't in Washington D.C.
But I know,
That
like, I don't mean
ruins-
like in terms of like action. Like, I would say the action is definitely better because I mean, what are you going to do with like that many heroes? That's like
Yeah.
an unfair battle. But like, I think just overall, I prefer.
But that's what I'm talking
Okay, go
overall.
ahead, go. Yeah.
Overall, like I do this weird thing in my head
Mhm.
where when I'm flipping through Netflix and deciding what to watch, my brain will automatically go to the scene I love the most,
Okay.
and that'll make me watch it, or it'll remind me the scene I like the least, and it'll
Okay.
make me skip past it. That whole him trying to get to the window in the obelisk and then end up getting through, and the bit with the frickin' elevator, that all pisses me off so much. Like, I love the scene where he's locked in and he's like figured out that it's only been 20 minutes that he's been in there.
Yeah,
It feels
yeah,
like he's
yeah.
done everything. That's great. But my brain will automatically go
Okay.
to the obelisk scene.
Okay.
Can't stand it. That's why Civil War is going to move on to the finals.
Oh, he vetoed.
That being said, it's got Clay, host of the podcast, favorite MCU film in Civil War
Number one.
versus
Oh, that's your
Jerome's.
favorite.
It's my favorite.
Okay.
Number one in Ragnarok. I'm
feel like guest
worried.
Courtesy.
I'm worried. I'm worried here because I already know which way Dylan's gonna vote. This feels like the conclusion of like Big Brother or one of those films where I'm like, I have an idea which way. Dylan and Jerome have an alliance here.
Mm-hmm.
Jerome and I have been courteous to each other, but you know it's either him or me. One of us is on the block, or we're both on the block.
What
What are you going to promise me? It's like, what's the deal you're going to make with me to take my vote?
You can keep your job.
I was about to say. That's unfair. I wish, like, I mean, because this is a podcast format and we could just like cut all the dead space in between. I want us to get like a single rose, and that Cal can hand to one of us, bachelor style. All right, Kyle.
Here's my thing.
All right, let's.
If this is going to be crowned the best film of the MCU as far as this bracket is concerned,
Which is crazy.
I would
Not crazy.
I would like it to go to a film that contains a number of the Avengers that I feel is just a bulletproof film from start to finish.
Right.
I-
Like
I-
Thor and
To me,
Hulk.
oh, yeah,
You know what's actually really poetic about this?
That is a number.
The two heroes that aren't in Civil War are the ones in the film that is going up against it. This is
That's
yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would just like a film that's a culmination versus a reinvention of a fledgling
Okay, but
franchise.
in turn, I like that. Okay, but which film did you like more? And you don't even
Civil
have.
War Ragnarok?
Yeah.
Civil War.
Okay, then that's your pick. All right.
Yeah.
So we're tied.
This might be perfect
I'm just
All right.
making that.
because I don't think we can crown a winner
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
We filled out the bracket. You had the genius idea of me doing a digital version of this. I like how we started the podcast talking
Are we doing a vote?
of how brutal I am digitally. We are at an honest to goodness stalemate. 2 versus 2. We
Okay.
said from the beginning, no veto powers in the final round.
Right.
I think, rock, paper, scissors ran its course. I think we put it out to the
I'm
listeners.
down to do that.
To see what they do.
Ragnarok's going to win. I know it.
Right?
Ragnarok's definitely going to win.
I know it.
I think the reason I'm agreeing to this is because I know I trust the Twitterverse more than my ability in rock, paper, scissors.
You're out of your mind. Before we go, you want to give us your list?
All right.
I'm curious.
All right. I'll start from the bottom. Incredible Hulk. Thor Dark
It also
World.
made the least amount of money.
Iron Man 2. You're not going to be happy about this. Captain America, the first Avenger,
Christ.
is the bottom 5 for me. Doctor Strange.
How is it bottom? Whatever. Keep going. This is your time.
Relative to everything else, it's bottom 5.
It's below Doctor Strange. I said
Just
I
one
loved it,
below.
but I loved.
Well, one thing that we came across because there's so many of these films,
was
like
so
the
tiny.
specific.
He jumped on a grenade when he was
I was just
skinny.
going to say that when he jumps on the grenade.
It's a really nice moment. Still bottom 5. Well, so the way we framed a lot of these afterward, because there's so many films, is the specific number ranking doesn't matter as much as like we kind of put them in tiers. So all these together
Right.
for us are like
Yeah.
Right. So it's like top 5, next 5, third
Yeah.
5, fourth 5,
Yeah.
and then the shitty ones.
Thor, Iron Man 3,
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Avengers: Age of Ultron,
Yeah.
Iron
wow. It's higher than I thought. Age of Ultron.
Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man. They're like basically interchangeable to me. Captain Marvel. This one I might switch around, but again, this is where like the whole tier thing happens.
Yeah.
I have Civil War and then Winter Soldier, but honestly, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Black Panther, and my top 5: Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Infinity War, Thor: Ragnarok.
There you have it.
There you have
Jerome Cheng,
you have it.
unofficial. Like I brought you on as a Marvel expert.
I'm not an expert at all. I just
Now I just think you're an employee. This was amazing. We never got to do anything like this on the
This
pod
is great.
before. I guess we'll announce the winner in the intro to next week's podcast.
and I will prepare
That's-
the speech for Thor: Ragnarok when it takes its crown.
It's going to win. It's going to
You're out
win.
of your mind.
When it raises
Avengers. I like the
its
point
hammer.
though that the 2 people not in Civil War
Yeah.
are in Ragnarok. That
Have
makes
you
it
seen the
really fun.
YouTube pieces where it's like what Thor has been up to?
Yes, I have.
They're so
Yeah.
good.
You surprised me at knowing some of the people we've had on the show before, so hopefully you know how we like to finish it. Oh, he's scared.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's really important to me. It's funny. We've had so much fun and we've joked so much on this. We didn't really hit many of the serious notes that we tend to, but it's very important to me.
Wellness is important.
Wellness is important. And just the ability, to make change in your life and always be moving in a direction. And I guess it's almost shown or proven by the fact that you made change, both of you, Kyle and Jerome, made changes professionally in your life because you're like, am I going to keep doing this or am I going to pursue something I maybe like more and can do better at?
Something that like is more nourishing.
Something's very more nourishing. We think of, ways to make the mind better, but ways to make also the body better because, I believe in kind of seizing the opportunity to make decisions and making beneficial decisions. That there's no simpler decision one can make than by just choosing to eat their vegetables.
Yes.
Because that, on the smallest scale, is a way to make your life better. So from myself, from Dylan, from Sean, who's not here anymore because it's too damn late, from Kyle, and obviously Jerome, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Please, please, please be good to yourself.
And eat your
And eat your
vegetables.
2 people said it this time.
And vote Civil War.